Chris was our walking encyclopedia for the trip. He knew a little bit about everything. Well, he had a flower. He's like, oh, look at this flower. And he's like, that's a such and such flower, and it's native to, he was like that with everything. Bees, he raises bees. He tells us about how queen bees are made. No, he didn't bring any honey. He told me he made like 40, he produced like 40 gallons or something crazy a year, something like that, something crazy. But he did. He knew. Matter of fact, one of the combat photographer was taking pictures of this flower on the side of the trail, and I said, "Man, this is embarrassing." I said, "Combat photographer taking pictures of the flowers," and Chris says, "Yeah. What's more embarrassing is that's a blackberry flower. They have them all over the United States." Here he thought he was taking pictures of something that was
something exotic. Huh?
Something exotic.
That's funny. All right, let's go ahead and start this up. Let's do this. Oh, wait a minute.
Better?
Much better. Yeah.
Much better.
Yeah, I can see the frown line. I like that. The scowl.
Permanent.
It's perfect. I guess we lost Chris. He might have had to go back. I don't know. Anyway, let's do this. Let's get started. So we're back, Leadheads. As you can tell, we started the conversation. We're getting everybody connected here. I think we're as good as we're going to get at the moment. There's people messing with you in the background there, Michael. In your window. What are they doing back there?
I don't know.
You have no idea.
I have no idea.
They're making faces in the background there. Chris is putting on his mask. He's masking up, it looks like. In Indiana. I guess they still require the mask in Indiana.
Well, in the hospitals.
In the hospitals?
Yeah.
The only place where you're probably the safest? The cleanest of all of them? Leadheads, we are back with another episode of the Talking Lead Podcast. Thanks for tuning in. Make sure you go and support all those that make this show possible. Mission First Tactical, SEAL 1, Nemo Arms, ASP USA, Factory 47, 1776 United, and, of course, Keltec. We are going to be at NRA. Are you guys going to NRA this year, Lance?
What's the dates?
It's coming up next month, September 3rd through the 5th in Houston, Texas.
Yeah, Lord, no. September, October are going to be our two busiest months.
Okay.
Coming up. So we are every weekend and every week. We've got either an outdoor adventure or a Warrior Path program running.
There you go. And for you new lead heads that don't recognize that voice, that is Sergeant Major Lance Nutt with Sheepdog Impact Assistance. And we're going to be talking about their recent adventure that they had climbing Mount Kilimanjaro. And we've got some of the climbers here joining us. We're going to introduce them in just a second as well. And if you hear background noise, excuse it. We've got people on cell phones driving. They're at the hospital. They're scattered out everywhere. This trip really took a toll on them, it looks like. But we are going to be at the 2021 NRA in Houston, Texas. Make sure if you're there, you come by and see us. We're at booth 1803. We'll have some awesome giveaways from Mission First Tactical. We'll have some of their awesome dump trays. And if you're watching on the video, I'm holding up one of their cool dump trays right now. Really good for you armorers out there, too. Work on guns is to put your parts and dirty stuff on there. Go to missionfirsttactical.com. Am I still sharing my screen?
Yes.
Let me stop doing that. Check them out. They also have your firearms accessories, your magazines, 30-round magazines. You can get custom logos put on there. So we need to get some sheepdog magazines done. We'll look at getting that done. But yeah, Keltec going to be sponsoring us. Come by there. Never know who's going to be there at the booth. Apparently, Sergeant Major's not going to be there, so we won't have Sheepdog joining us this year, unfortunately.
unfortunately.
But we do have you on now, and we're going to talk about this awesome adventure that you guys just went on to Mount Kilimanjaro. But before we do that, I want you to introduce who's joining us, Sergeant Major.
Yeah, we've got Brandon Madison. I was about to say he's the token Army guy with us on this call, but actually Chris Mackay is Army. Both combat vets with us that just returned from Africa from our expedition there. So Brandon Madison, Chris Mackay, and Michael Nimmo, who is a Marine combat vet and one of our senior staff members within the organization. He actually is one of our primary go-getters when it comes to funding for the organization. So we've been real proud of his efforts. And then Chris Mackay is our chapter commander up in Indiana, doing great things for the veterans and first responders of the state of Indiana. And Brandon, we're still trying to figure out what it is that he does. Besides workout and love his daughter with all his heart. And I can't think of really anything that matters more than that. Than
growing awesome beards is pretty good too.
Got the Vite braid and everything going on right now.
Right.
So
yeah,
Brandon's a real good friend of mine, and we go way back on a lot of life's challenges. And Brandon owns his own business, doing great things out in the world, and has been an amazing representative for us and Sheepdog. And so we were proud to have all of these gentlemen with us. There was a total of 12 of us on the team that went to Africa, and these are 3 of the gentlemen that joined us.
There you go. And we had others that were going to, but due to connection issues and whatnot, they weren't able to. But maybe we can get them back on another time. Would love to hear their side of the adventures as well. But before we get into talking about the Mount Kilimanjaro trip, Sergeant Major, we do this little segment on the show. It's called Trains and Planes, where we take care of jack wagons and we honor some heroes. And we're going to let the gunny bring that train in now to haul off some much deserving jack wagons.
Hoorah, Semper Fi, do or die, hold 'em high at 8th and I. It is time for the talking lead jack wagon of the week, so brace yourself, baby.
And I'll start us off with a jack wagon. This is a local one. I was out and about yesterday, and I had to go get some pool shock. I don't know if any of you guys own a pool or not, but for some reason, chlorine is impossible to find right now. Just your normal chlorine that you put in your pool. It's usually cheap and expensive. Well, it's gone up to like 5 to 6 times its normal price, and it's impossible to find, which I haven't found a reason why yet as to why there's a shortage on chlorine. But anyway, I was on the hunt for some chlorine yesterday, and was pulling into the gas station, and I was pulling off a major road, a major intersection to a side road. And I don't know how it is in y'all states, but in Tennessee and in most areas, the right-of-way comes from people pulling off the main road. The other people have to give way. I was telling Brandon about this off air. But anyway, so I beat this guy before he pulls into this intersection and starts to block the intersection because it's major traffic during the time I was out. And I go through, which I have the right of way anyway. And then he gives me this dirty look. I give him a dirty look back and just go on to the gas station, proceed to the gas station. And as I'm pulling in, this car pulls up in front of me, and it's that dude that I guess he felt I cut him off or whatever. And he wanted to know what my problem was, I guess. So I got out of the car and proceeded to walk up as he rolled his window down, asking me what my problem was. And I just said, I have a problem with people who don't know how to drive and don't know the rules of driving in their local area, which you obviously don't and can't read signs because there's a sign strictly posted said traffic off that has right of way. Anyway, he wanted to challenge me, but he wouldn't get out of his car. So I just proceeded to pump my gas, and then he stayed there while I pumped my gas, I guess to make sure that I was following all the EPA rules. I don't know. But he eventually went on his way. But that guy is a jackwagon. For people who get upset over something as little as that was inconsequential, when all the other bigger problems in the world that are going on right now deserve attention, those people are jackwagons. So welcome to the jackwagon train, you idiot in the silver BMW.
Takes all types.
You know, I just had to get that out. It's a shame that I've let that bother me this long too. So I've let it go. I've vented. How about you guys? You got anything you want to vent, to get off your chest? Anybody done anything that you thought was just absolutely preposterous, stupid, idiot?
Marty, I had a similar incident, traffic-related issue 2 days ago, where I actually had a woman yell out her window at me that I must be a Trumpster because my driving apparently did not meet her standards. And so apparently, because I was driving what she has referred to as a Bubba truck, which is a Ford F-250. So okay. I'm driving a Bubba truck, and I am a Trumpster, which she said repeatedly. And I have no political stickers on my vehicle, but because I'm driving a Bubba truck.
And you're white.
And I'm white.
And you're male.
Apparently, and even said, and you look like a Trumpster, right? So I still don't know what the hell that means. But I must digress and say that as much as she belongs on the jack wagon, and I try to refrain, based on my position in this organization, from being overtly political.
Sure.
But I'm going to go out on a unique limb and be very political in my statement that President Biden and his entire administration belong to the jackwagon train.
Yes.
And I could not be more disgusted with a president. And I thought Jimmy Carter was going to keep the bar as low as it could get. But Joe Biden has lowered it to an entirely new level with the handling that he and his administration have conducted when it comes to Afghanistan.
Absolutely.
I do not disagree with the need for us to get out.
I don't think anybody's disagreeing with that.
No, and that's right. But the way it has been handled, the utter failure when it comes to that entire administration, I would go so far as to say that I'm embarrassed for us as a nation. I'm embarrassed for our military, and it's a sad day to see what has transpired in a country that we invested 20 years of American blood, sweat, and treasure. And the most important aspect of that is that blood is the lives, the men and women who sacrificed in that country to see it deserve better than it is now getting from the standpoint of how we utterly failed in the transition process. So,
right.
I know that, and I think I'm there because all of us who as veterans served in that theater between Iraq and Afghanistan have been betrayed repeatedly by administrations that failed manage the withdrawal and transition process properly. So I feel for the veterans out there that are struggling because of the failure of this transition. And I do want to make sure that they know that fellow veterans appreciate all of the sacrifices made, especially by those families that are now having to relive the betrayal of having lost loved ones. And the Biden administration has much to account for in this utter failure of foreign policy.
And they refuse to be held accountable. hiding Biden, as they're calling him now, is refusing to address this. Any of his administration are not addressing this. They're hiding. He came on yesterday and did address the nation, and all he did was talk about COVID, and he had nothing to say about what's going on in Afghanistan. Whenever he has been, I think he did some interview with that George Snuffleupagus guy, and he said, he wasn't taking blame. He was pointing fingers, where he specifically said he would not blame anyone else for any of his failures, and he's specifically doing that. We're seeing it firsthand here. He's blaming it on the Trump administration, which is, I think everybody sees past this, and I've got to really pat the media on the back for bringing this out and not letting it drop either. For most of the media outlets, they have really been hanging on to this and trying to get him to be accountable for this and step up and address not only America but the world in this utter failure that they have done with Afghanistan here. And I wanted you guys specifically. I was hoping that you would talk about this because you are veterans, and I think the majority of you guys probably did some time in Afghanistan, and I kind of wanted to just get your firsthand account on this. Does anyone else want to chime in on this?
Well, like I told, is it Marty?
Sure.
As I told Marty before you guys got on, as far as jackwagons go, these Democrats and Joe Biden, they're easy targets. I mean, they can't seem to do anything effectively. They might talk a good game about an idea, but the minute you ask them 2 or 3 follow-up questions, it all turns to shit. They are the
execution.
Biggest jokes.
Yeah.
I'm sorry?
Let's say there's no execution.
Yeah. They got no plan. They got no follow through. The people that elect these jackwagons into office, they're almost, to me, like they have some sort of physiological difference from somebody that has rational thinking and planning skills and just common sense. And I hope that this destroys this presidency. I want to advocate for every president, Democrat or Republican, to be a good president.
That's the thing with this, though, too, is it's salvageable. They could salvage this. There's a way that it could be salvaged, and they could save face here, and they could save lives. The biggest thing that could happen here, but it doesn't seem like they want to do that.
I agree with that. I don't think they can salvage anything. That's the problem with this administration, is they're not capable of salvaging jack.
Yeah.
That's where we have to deal with reality. We are seeing a total failure when it comes to any form of leadership, of ownership, and a willingness to accept responsibility for poor decision making. And until you do that, you can't begin to fix anything.
Yeah.
And so I don't.
And let me rephrase it. I don't think it's salvageable by them.
Yeah.
I think if they turn the reins over to people who know what the hell they're doing, then yes, it is. It still can be salvageable, but they have to have, the hubris, I guess is the word I want to use, and step down and let the right people take this over. That's the great thing about leadership is being able to delegate, and that's what he needs to do right here is he just needs to step back and say, or somebody needs to pull him back, his puppet handlers, and say, this is beyond you. This is beyond us. Let's let the experts handle this.
Well, and there's the challenge he has surrounded himself with imbeciles. And the man running the State Department, John McCain, called him out 5 years ago, and what is the only times on the Senate floor that John McCain has publicly chastised someone that President Obama tried to set him up as an undersecretary. and said that he was incapable and was a total failure when it comes to his ability to try and lead anything within the American framework for setting us up for success. And that's who's now leading the State Department. There is no one for this administration to fall back on right now. The Secretary of Defense and the chairman of the Joint Chiefs are the wrong people to have in place at this point in history as well. So it's who do they fall on, because he's chosen the wrong people to be leaders within this administration. And at this point, there's no salvaging anything, because there's no one within the administration that can lead us out of this situation, right? So it's a disgrace at every level.
I agree. And I just want to add one thing without getting too far away from the topic of Afghanistan is that's these type of people, that's their whole mindset. Their whole mindset is it's somebody else's fault. Every shortcoming, every bad decision, every bad outcome is always someone else's fault. Either racism or white supremacy or Trumpers, or it's always something. It's never their policies, and it just baffles my mind that these people elect, because they all think the same, and they elect somebody knowing that whatever their policy is, it might sound good,
but it's like not in sync, and it's a dream. It's a pipe dream, and it can never be executed without a huge sacrifice somewhere else. Yeah.
Exactly. And that's how they approach everything. Oh, I'm poor. Well, that's, society's fault. Or I'm discriminated against. That's white people's fault. Or, it goes all the way up to when it, crescendos into something like Afghanistan. Afghanistan's this decision that they've made. These people are completely incompetent. And we got to think, it's not just one guy. I mean, there's roomfuls of people that are supposedly supposed to be strategizing and thinking this thing through, but they got their priorities all upside down and backward.
We assume there's a room full of people. I mean, we have no idea what's going on behind the scenes there. Who knows? It's sheer and complete chaos. What about you, Chris or Michael? You guys got anything you want to say?
Well, one thing that I would say, and one thing that some of the people I worry about is not only the estimate of between 5,000 and 10,000 American citizens that are still over there behind lines, whether they went over there to help with the government or whether they went over there to help dig wells for the local tribes and stuff. They're still there and they can't get into the cities. But one thing, when I served over in Iraq, I noticed our interpreter, ISIS killed his mother and his father, his sisters and brothers, all of his cousins, his aunts and uncles. They killed his grandparents. He was the only one left. And they did all this because he was working with us. And so when I think about this insane drawback and pull out that they did, what about the people that helped us? It's all fun and games until all of a sudden, we're safe, but the people that helped us and thought they were going to be safe are kind of thrown to the wolves.
Well, not kind of, they were. And I've heard other stories of other Afghans that were helping the Americans that have been publicly hung and executed, and since all this has happened. And of course, you don't hear about that in the news. They're not showing that in the news, but you're hearing from personal people that he's like, I just got word that my friend such and such was just shot by ISIS because he was our interpreter, or whatever it may be. It's just it's completely a disaster as what's happening, and you're right, Lance. Is I don't know that it is salvageable at this point, but they can still do something. They can still send people back. I don't know what needs to be done, but it's got to be corrected somehow, some way. And I'm just proud of the Americans for the outpouring of rage and disgust that I've been seeing that's actually been making it to the social medias, the actual media itself. Of course, CNN, you're not seeing a lot of it still. That they're still focusing on COVID and this bombing that happened today. Did you guys hear about the bomb threat at the Capitol? Yeah, there was a bomb threat. Some Bubba truck with a white dude pulls up to was it the library? Brandon knows about it.
Yeah, the Library of Congress.
Library of Congress with a bomb threat. Supposedly they have diffused the situation, pun intended. Took the guy in custody, but who knows if we'll hear any more about that or not. And and what was the real purpose in that? It seems like whenever you've got a major catastrophe that an administration is going through or having to face, if they're having to face the music, something else kind of creeps up to take your attention away from it. And this just seemed all too convenient again. Brandon and I were talking off air about this. It just seemed like a convenience that really didn't work out for them. It got diffused probably a lot quicker than they had hoped it would, but thank God nobody was hurt there. And I think it's going to be like a domestic some issue or something. But anyway, there's a good jackwagon. That is a great jackwagon. And I just wanted to get your guys' views on the whole Afghanistan debacle that we're going through, because I think most of you did serve over there at some point in time, and we lost Michael, looks like. Hopefully he'll come back. Are you guys getting those storms? Any storms from that series of tropical things that are going on? We're getting a little bit here, but not a whole lot. Not much in Indiana, Texas. Y'all not getting anything?
Nothing here. My work is weather based, so I hope we get some bad storms so I can go back to work.
Arkansas looked like y'all were getting hit pretty good.
We got a good bit of rain today, and it's been that way yesterday and today, and I think it's going to wrap up tomorrow. But mainly just a little bit of rain, not a lot of anything beyond that.
Yeah. So, that's another thing that Sheepdog does and does well, are disaster recovery missions. I've been privileged to take part in a couple of those. And are you seeing anything from this round of tropical storms that's going to require y'all's attention?
Not as of now. And we've transitioned a good bit as an organization where it takes a good bit for us to deploy. Yeah. From a major damage standpoint is what we focus on, and not as much, small, interactions, whether it be a small tornado or minor flooding or something. So it would have to be something pretty major at this point.
Well, I know prior COVID, right before COVID took over the universe, we had some pretty bad tornadoes here in Tennessee, and Sheepdog organized a team to come down here, and I think it was a little more than just a small tornado, but we greatly appreciate the efforts and the team that came down here to Tennessee and did all that. Did you come down for that, Chris? Okay. So did I meet you when you were here?
Yeah, I believe so. I believe we met in that one neighborhood it was pretty jacked up. I think you came around the corner and we were doing some work for a few houses down there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Before we met.
Yeah, I thought we met before. Everybody had on their gear and everything, so it was it was hard to recognize everybody. But great.
You can't remember who you remember because you was always wearing a mask.
Yeah, we were getting prepared for the COVID, I guess. And then right after that, everybody gets hit with the COVID. So Tennessee was hit pretty hard back to back there with stuff. Have you guys done anything with the COVID? Are there any kind of missions or anything that's required you guys to get involved with anything to do with COVID?
We were very busy all of last year. We did a lot of work when it came to delivering, medical supplies, PPE, from the beginning till for about a solid 12 months. We were very busy in treating COVID like a major national disaster. And Chris Mackay was someone that really set the bar high on making masks. When the nation was running low on masks, he was making them by hand. and delivering them throughout his community, and even shipped us quite a few for distribution in areas that we were delivering to nationally. So I think as things started to wind down, back in early spring, we started kind of phase out, especially as supply chains got caught up with medical supplies, masks, etc. And I think most companies started shifting to home deliveries of meals and things. We, in the early days, were delivering to elderly families, families that might have underlying medical conditions and couldn't leave the house to do shopping, etc. And so we worked hard to fill that void for a lot of people that were kind of trapped in limbo. But we stayed busy, and we were impressed nationwide to see how much our teams and chapters and our members nationwide stepped up to contribute in their communities, and we really had a big impact.
Very good. We're talking with Sergeant Major Lance Nutt. He is the founder of Sheepdog Impact Assistance, an organization designed to keep veterans off the couch. Get off the couch is their slogan, and they do that by ways that we're talking about here: the disaster recovery missions, the adventures that you have, the outdoor adventures. You've added a couple of different things, I think, since the last time we talked, too, that you guys are doing. I saw something.
Warrior Path.
Yes, the Warrior Path.
Edition of our programs. Warrior Path is a partnership in conjunction with Boulder Crest Foundation, and it's all about working from the standpoint of helping our veterans and first responders with mental wellness training. It's based on post-traumatic growth, the concept of post-traumatic growth, that from your trauma, you can actually use it to grow into a better, stronger person. And then we stress the importance of putting it in its proper place. So if you experience trauma in your life, it's important that you do not let it define who you are today and who you will become in the future. And that's the big work behind our Warrior Path program training, is teaching our nation's veterans and first responders how to properly manage post-traumatic stress and transition it into post-traumatic growth. So that's the big piece on where we are. And as you show the kind of the working triangle there, it's engaging you to get off the couch through our outdoor adventure programs, where we introduce the Warrior Path concept. And then that in turn is driven into the service side of you've got to continue giving. You've got to find a new purpose. And whether it's through our disaster response missions or identifying small needs or large needs in your community, whether it's a homeless challenge for homeless veterans and you volunteering at a homeless shelter, or helping to clean up an inner city park that's damaged and the children can't use it anymore, you go in there and get it back functional. There's a big focus on us driving veterans and first responders to get back out into their communities and make a difference.
Absolutely. And you guys do a very good job of that. And another one is the outdoor adventures that you guys do. Is the Kilimanjaro, is that considered one of your outdoor adventure programs?
It is. It was our first international outdoor adventure, and typically not something that we would do, but we had a major sponsor here that one of our members, Scott West, who is a double amputee. This sponsor, Sam's Furniture here in Northwest Arkansas, heard that Scott had a passion and a dream of climbing Mount Kilimanjaro as a double amputee. And Joe Donaldson and Lara Donaldson, the owners of that business, stepped up and said, we want to make that dream come true for Scott, and we'd like to surround him with fellow veterans that can help him achieve that dream. And so there was a total of 12 of us on the team, and not just Scott West as a double amputee, but also Travis Strong, who has no prosthetics because he lost his legs so high up on his hips. He basically hopped on his hands and his butt for 3 days up the mountain before he physically, just met the wall that he couldn't go any further. But
there's a picture of it here somewhere I'm trying to get to.
That's the team, obviously hiking. And if you show a picture of Travis, it's powerful from the standpoint of
it's here. I know. I saw it. I saw a couple of pictures of it. Is that
photo.
one of him here? No, that's not him, is it?
That's Scott West there. You can see that he had to take a break and remove his prosthetics. And so the porters helped carry him a little ways while he rested his legs.
So Scott's kind of the spark that started this, huh, for you guys?
Scott is the spark based on his dream to accomplish summiting that mountain, and he did. And the team that was with him, obviously, helped make that possible by encouraging him to really push on and persevere. And it's still pretty amazing there he is. There's Travis.
There's Travis.
And then, of course, Noah Galloway, Dancing with the Stars and men's fitness fame.
Do what?
Yeah, Noah Galloway is a double amputee veteran. He's missing an arm and a leg. And he's famous for being on Dancing with the Stars, and actually was the runner-up winner on that. Right there. That's
this guy?
That's Noah Galloway right there.
Okay. I had no idea. I don't watch Dancing with the Stars. So.
No, not many of us do, but all of our wives and girlfriends have made it very clear that they all fell in love with him when he was competing on Dancing with the Stars.
Very good.
He also made the cover of either Men's Fitness or Men's Health as the fittest man in America.
Wow.
And I think it was on the cover. I think it was either a 2015 or 16 edition of one of those.
Say again, you're going to say something?
Oh, it was Men's Health. Sergeant Major was correct.
Men's Health. So powerful.
But you all were there. You all took part too during this journey. So give us a breakdown from start to finish. So the concept came about. Scott had this dream. Some very honorable people stepped up to make it happen. And then you came up with the idea, well, let's get more people involved with this. Let's get more sheepdogs involved. And you guys started kind of a fundraiser for this. How did you pick your team? How did you pick the people that were going to go on this journey? And then what did you guys do to prepare for it? Because it's not like, walking up Klingman's Dome in Gatlinburg, Tennessee. This is like one of the highest points in the world. I think it's like the 5th largest mountain or something like that.
It's the 4th tallest mountain in the world, and it's the tallest freestanding mountain in the world. So
I mean, it's no joke, because like 13 people die a year at this, trying to climb up this thing. It's no joke.
Yeah, and I think that's probably something that the team really learned to appreciate quickly, was that it's advertised as one of the easiest big mountains in the world, but that's a very relative statement when you're hiking up to 19,000 feet.
Yeah.
And you're hiking over some pretty formidable terrain. And the team we started on one of the longest routes, which is an 8-day Lemosho route, which is designed to give you more time to acclimate before you go for the summit. But it also gets you on your feet for a much longer period of time and just physically really wears you down. And that's ultimately where Travis just, 14-hour days of climbing over rocks and, going miles on his hands and butt, just hopping along, really took a toll. But we we tried to surround ourselves as the team with just a really good group of solid individuals that we knew would not give up and would support one another in this endeavor. So in selecting the team and looking at who we wanted to have join us, Chris and Brandon and Michael and Chris Mackay, Chris Jackson, all of the individuals that we really chose were in many ways handpicked based on us knowing their mental fortitude and a willingness to challenge and support one another in whatever way it took. And, I speak for the team just from the standpoint of, I think an endeavor like this, you can't really train enough, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I'd say physically you can prepare, but mentally is when you face a challenge that sometimes it's really hard to train for something that's going to tax you mentally the way this mountain did.
You can't really train for the altitude, how the altitude's going to affect you either, because everybody's body is different. Everybody's physiology is different, and you don't really know until you put your body into that, that situation. So you could, like you said, you could physically train and be the, Olympic type fitness, and then, you get up there and that altitude sickness, that I guess they call it, can hit you.
Yeah, and that's probably the area that you see triathlon athletes, some of the best professional athletes in the world, trying to climb mountains like Kilimanjaro and Everest. And it's the one defining mark that separates everybody or equalizes everyone from the standpoint that no matter how good a shape you're in, the altitude doesn't care. And you see that are at the peak, they're not make it to the summit because the altitude, knocks them down. So it's that one area that you cannot train for because so few people live at any sort of elevation like that. So getting ready for it, other than just getting your body in as good a shape as you can, is about the only way to do it. Now, I must disclose as well that I made it to day 3. I arrived in Africa sick with an upper respiratory infection, and I was hoping that I could just hike it and sweat it out. And I made it to day 3, and a lot of why I just kept pushing myself was thinking, I'm just going to walk and sweat this crap out of my body. And the higher I got in altitude, we made it to 12,000 feet. It just started compounding the issue. And so when Travis made the decision that he needed to come down, I had to make the decision at the same time to come down. So of us 12, 2 of us did not summit, myself and Travis, but the rest of the team, 10, made it all the way to the top.
Nice.
And I, couldn't be more proud of them. And Travis and I certainly cheered them on from, at the base of the mountain. But you got to give kudos to Brandon and Chris that are both on the call with us. That let them kind of take the story moving forward to really share some of the adversity that they faced as they continued on from that 12,000 foot point to the summit.
Yeah, let me ask Brandon. So Brandon, what possessed you to want to take on this journey and tackle Kili? Y'all call it Kili? Is that what you call it? Mount Kili?
Mount Kilimanjaro. Yeah, I never aspired to climb Kilimanjaro or any of the 14ers in Colorado. It's just never been on my list of something to do. But when the Sergeant Major asked me if I would like to go on this, this adventure, and he told me who was going to be a part of it, it was a done deal. I mean, there was no saying no to it. I mean, being able to walk next to guys like the guys that were on this adventure is what I live to do. There's no bigger honor for me than to walk next to these guys, especially these combat wounded individuals, and these warriors. And so it was, there was no question about wanting to do it. Once he told me some of the details and who was going, that's what sold me.
Even though he said Scott was going, you still wanted to go?
Well, I'd already committed at that point, and I think it was, I didn't want to look like I was wishy-washy. So
we were really going to give Scott a hard time. I hated that he didn't join us.
I knew I'd have a cuddling buddy, once I found out he was going. I knew he wasn't shy about that.
Right. So what did you personally do to get ready for this journey?
Well, living in the panhandle of Texas, there's not a lot of altitude around here. We have Powder Canyon, which is I think the second only to the Grand Canyon. So there's a big hole in the ground. So I did maybe the opposite of what I should have done. I went down in elevation.
You went below sea level instead of above sea level.
Yeah. And so I just, for me, it was just about putting miles on my boots and had weight on my back. So I did a lot of walking, a lot of rucking. And I walked here at home. I would go down there and train, under an uneven terrain. And I was able to climb a little bit and get my wind and stuff. But I can tell you, you can do that all day long, as much as you want. And nothing prepares you unless you live on a mountain at altitude. Nothing's going to prepare you for the toll that it takes on you being on the ground on the mountain.
Yeah, and I guess having the group that you have with you also helps, as far as the mental aspect of it, because I see mentally, like you said, we talked a little bit off air, and you talked about you got a strain on your knee, and earlier on in the hike, and I mean it was an 8-day adventure that you guys were on, and I'm sure a lot of people, if they didn't have that type of encouragement and people behind them, they probably would have just called it quits and stopped. But you kept on, pushed through.
Yeah, I was pretty dedicated to in my own mind as far as doing the whole thing on my own. I took a knee brace, and once I hurt my knee, I didn't even want to wear the knee brace. I felt like that was cheating. I was cheating myself, I wasn't cheating anybody else. And my knee was already in bad shape going into it. So it's not something I hadn't lived with before. But yeah, when I did injure it, I think on day 3, it was concerning. Yeah. But it held. It held. So I got down. I had a pretty good limp, I think, at the bottom. The guys can attest to that. But what you were saying, as far as the camaraderie and the motivation and just, seeing the guys walking next to you, everybody's got their own struggle. They're in their own minds on the trail, and the encouragement coming from every direction was just made it easy. It really made it much easier than it probably would be otherwise.
How about you, Chris? Talk about the preparations that you made for this adventure and kind of how it took a toll on you, if any.
Well, being a former paratrooper in the infantry, I would say one of the things that best got me ready for this mission would have been cigars and moonshine.
Nice.
Like Brandon said, there's not really a lot that you can do, especially here in Indiana. It's sort of flat everywhere. And so I basically just put weight, miles on my shoes and weight on my back. The crazy thing about it is, since I've been involved with Sheepdog, I'm one of the OA guides that helps them with some of their adventures. And so what I do is, they give me a mission, they give me a task and a purpose. They tell me what I need to do. Hey, we've got this mission. This is the info you need. Can you help us? And so I'm usually there to help. And what I do is, I passed the National Registry. I have my EMT license, or had it at one time. It's not current right now, but so being I have a little bit of medical training background, they always kind of give me like the medic pack, and I carry it, but I always put, a dozen, 2 dozen bottled waters in my backpack. And so over the years of being with Sheepdog, one of the things that has helped me is carrying water for our veterans that are on an outdoor adventure or on a disaster or anything like that. So, you know, whether you know it or not, sometimes in life you're training for something that you don't know is about to come. So I'd have to thank Sheepdog for the past few years of, you know, basically getting me off the couch, getting me active, walking up hills, mountain biking. I'm doing all these different activities that made me strong enough to complete this mission, and did it at a rate that was so slow. You know, I didn't realize that I was better shape than I was, you know.
You surprised yourself, huh?
I did. I really did. But, you know, it's really awesome to get off the couch, and especially like those days that you were hurting up there on the mountain, you know, you could turn around and see somebody else is hurting too. And for me is when I usually start motivating other people, I stop thinking about myself. So running around and asking anybody if they needed anything, and, you know, just talking to them, tell them a story, tell them my story, you know, just kind of bullshit. They say when you have good conversation or music, it makes the mountain flat.
Did you have good music? Did you have somebody that was entertaining you with music?
We did. What at first, now I'm somebody, when I like going for walks, I don't really like music or anything like that. This is one of those ones, I didn't like it at first, but eventually I seen that it was kind of helpful. So
Kept you going, kept you motivated. I'm sure Scott had a lot to
absolutely.
do with that too, with the comedic relief, right?
Yeah, well, you know, he wore me out because I was kicking him in the ass so much and made me tired.
Although we're gonna pick on him because he's not here to defend himself. That's what he gets for not.
But it was a good adventure. I love being around my brothers, you know, and then finding Brandon. You know, he's a fellow. He was a ranger, and last time I was on a mountain was Dahlonega, Georgia, in mountain phase at Ranger School, and I got injured my back, and so going to the top of this mountain was really powerful for me because, you know, last time I was on a mountain, you know, broke my back. So it's one of those things. It's like, you know, I can do it. I can still push myself. I can still do things that are hard. Although I'm hurting for it right now, that doesn't mean that I can't do it in the future again. You know, you just got to condition yourself. The most important thing when doing anything is just adding weight and miles on your shoes.
There you go. Mind over matter, and friends can't hurt, right?
Yeah, you know what they say, mind over matter. If you don't mind, it don't matter.
It don't matter. So I've got a picture of, is this the route that you guys took, the Lemosho route?
That's right.
Yes, you can see as we entered there at the west, and we came down up northwest. We came down that trail that way, and then where you see it loop and curve back around counterclockwise, that's right there where the arrow is up is base camp. And
Here?
so what we did is we hit right there, Ahura Peak. And as you can see, the one that heads to the south, that's the trail that we took right back down.
Okay. So this is the one you went up?
Yep. Yeah, we went up that one, and when we get to Barafu, that's your base camp. On the right there. Barafu. Right there where the Y is.
I'm looking for it. I don't see a Y.
Right where the lines intersect, the orange line, Barafu.
Oh,
yeah, right
there, down here. Okay.
Yeah, that's your base camp. That's where we stopped. And on this trip, we pushed through, went from Bronco through Karanga, where we would have stopped. So we went to the east there from Bronco to Karanga, and then we pushed through Karanga to Barafu. And typically we would have stopped at Karanga for the night.
Mm-hmm.
But because we were pulling such long days with Scott and Noah, we weren't getting any downtime. So typically I think you walk 5 or 6 hours around that a day, and you get into your camps around, you know, early afternoon, 2, 3 o'clock. And then you kick off your boots, you wash up, you relax, you acclimate. And we just weren't getting that. We were pulling 12, 14-hour days every day, getting into camp after dark. And so we made a command decision to push from Bronco through Karanga to Barafu in one day so that we would have 30 hours of downtime so that Scott and Noah could, you know, let their their prosthetics attached. Let them kind of rest and heal up, because they were getting some pretty serious sores.
Yeah.
And then once you go from Bronco,
one of the things.
Yeah, go ahead, Chris.
Well, I was going to say, to add to what he was saying, like Noah and Scott, one of the things that was happening was doing this, 12 to 14 hours a day, walking and standing and climbing. It was making their stubs swell. So when their stubs would swell, it was hard for them to get their prosthetics either on or off. And so, there was a lot of hangups there that we were dealing with, that kind of would hinder and make us, have such long hours.
Yeah. Now, as far as time-wise, did it take you guys any longer than normal? I mean, I would think that probably took you a little bit longer than normal to accomplish this. What's the normal?
It was taking about twice as long, is what we were kind of estimating, maybe minus an hour. Because it'd be 4 to 6 hours for the walk, and 12 to 14 later, we're kind of just now coming into camp, or
So we did it in the same amount of days that a typical 8-day hike would be on this route.
Yeah,
we had 8 days delegated for it, and we did it in the 8 days. But we did it about the hardest possible way you could do it. We did 12, 14-hour days every day, and that's why we made the little command decision there at the last before up to base camp. But we didn't extend it any more days or anything. We just did more walking and putting in more hours than
more hours in the day than most people
exactly
to get done in the 8-day time frame.
And then 3 of them, Sebastian, Scott, and Noah, they all got stretchered down the hill.
Okay. I was gonna say, because once you go up, you got to come back down too, and
that's right. And that last day, Marty. When you go from base camp to the summit, you start walking at midnight. So Scott started walking at 10 o'clock at night, and we started moving at midnight to catch up with him. And you walk for about 7.5, 8 hours before you ever get to the top. So you're walking uphill for 7 to 8 hours until sunrise. Yeah. And then hopefully you're on Stella Point or Huro Peak or whatever for the sunrise. And then you've got another, say, 4 hours down back to base camp. And then you push on through base camp to the Millennium camp. And that's where you stop for the night.
But this is over here, the Port de Landarcy. That's where you guys started, right? Here?
That's where we started, yeah. Landarcy Gate.
How long did it take you to get from here to the base camp?
6 full days, I think, Chris, wasn't it?
Wow.
6 days. Yeah, it was 6 full days. And like he was talking about, when we got to the base camp and we were able to rest for a little bit, well, what happened is I figured, maybe I need to go ahead with some of these guys. So I left with them at 10. And on the first team out, we had 2 teams going. And so being that I had some medical experience, I figured I'd ride with them. So we started going up the mountain. Noah was doing great. And you could tell as we hit elevation, he just started getting more and more incoherent. And so in the middle of the summit for Noah, he almost became unresponsive. He wasn't unconscious, but you could call his name. He didn't know what was going on. Mm-hmm. So we had to basically hurry up and carry him back down the mountain. And luckily, I ran into these guys who were 2 hours behind us. So I just ate up 2 hours of climb. And they were like, "What are you doing?" And I said, "Hey, I'm heading down with Noah. I'm just going to scratch it. Noah's pretty bad shape. I'm going to take care of him." Well, a lot of the porters and our guides, they're EMT and paramedic qualified. So they talked to me, and then by the time we got to where the guys were that left at midnight, Noah started coming back around and started talking and everything. It was amazing to see what altitude can do to somebody. you know.
Yeah.
And
So is that what was going
with
on
that,
with him? Was it his altitude sickness?
Yes. Yeah, he was passing out. He didn't have enough air, and his brain basically was just shutting down. And our guy Kelvin, who was taking him down with me, he said he's got this. You know, he'll take care of it. So I linked up with these other guys, and then had to walk right back up the mountain where I just came from.
You did a little double dip, huh?
Yeah, it was a little unintended traveling that I had.
Well,
to
Marty,
do,
he was trying to go down with him. I got to say, Nemo and Chris were the glue for the team. I mean, Chris really encouraged people and looked out for people, and really was selfless in his approach to this whole thing. And he was, like he said, he was going to go down with Noah after Noah succumbed to altitude sickness. And we all had to yell at Chris and say, "Hey, what are you doing? You're right here, you know?
Yeah.
You can't go down. You got to go up. And, you know, don't take good care of him." And so he took a little bit of convincing, but he turned around and went back up the mountain with us.
Is Lance still with us? Is he still on the call? Or is he off right now? I know he had to go pick up his daughter.
Yeah, no, I'm still here.
Oh, okay. I was going to say, at what point here, you said at some point you had to bail. Which point did you bail on?
Day 3. We were at, I don't
Shira
remember the
2,
name of the camp.
Somewhere around here?
Shira 1.
Yep. Shira 2, I believe.
Yeah. Yeah, we were, because it was day 3. And Chris, Brandon, you remember the name of the camp?
Yeah, it was Shira 2, I believe. You guys left out
right.
you left out on day 3.
And yeah, Shira camp. That sounds right. So Shira 2.
Shira 2, right.
So did you turn around and go back to the Landerossi, or did you go this way?
No, there's at certain points along each trail section, there's extraction points where you walk a certain distance. We had to walk about 2 hours. They carried Travis with us for about a 2-hour walk to an extraction point. And there, one of the Kilimanjaro park rangers picked us up at that point, and they took me straight to the hospital, and then they took Travis back to the room. They had to put me on an IV and pump me full of antibiotics to try to get whatever crap I had going on. I was running a fever at that point, and not real sure still what it is that hit me, but
just get the flu or something.
Yeah, the doctor actually kept telling me I had COVID, but the tests kept coming back negative, so he was kind of stumped. But
I can't call it COVID. What am I going to call it? Oh no!
Yeah, that was, right. That's the crazy thing. And he said all my symptoms. You know, my lungs were filled up with fluid.
That's called
my head was congested. I was running a fever, and he just basically kept saying, "You have all the symptoms of COVID." But the tests keep coming back negative. They drew blood, and but it was probably the sickest I've been. And last time I remember being that sick was with the flu in college. And I once they got me out of the hospital and to the hotel, I slept for 3 days straight.
Yeah.
Until I started to have any sense of feeling normal again. But it was a butt kicker.
Sounds like the flu.
I'm betting it was just the flu, and but yeah, it was, and you would compound that with altitude. It was like the higher we kept going up, it made the situation that much worse. And you've got to learn from, if anything, I learned from that was the importance of listening to your body. And I was resisting listening to it. And if Travis had not decided he had hit his limit, I probably would have kept pushing on, just from the standpoint of how do you quit when you got somebody without legs, pushing themselves up the mountain, right? But him quitting made it easier for me to go, well, can't let him go down the mountain by himself. And at this point, my body is saying the same thing. So
he was your savior.
Yeah, I was glad at that point that he called it, because it gave me the ability to call it.
Yeah. Talk about.
Well,
No, go ahead.
I was just going to say, you really, I mean, it was a smart decision. It was a selfless decision too, I think, no matter how he portrays it, because you're putting the whole thing at risk and you're putting yourself in greater jeopardy. The higher you get, the routes off the mountain get less available. You know, they get farther out where they can get a car up. So I think at that point, he just didn't have any choice.
Yeah. So talk about, these 8 days and the pictures that I've been showing, the scenery. And you guys were this is in Africa, Tanzania, is that right?
Tanzania.
Talk about the change in scenery from when you started as you ascended Mount Kilimanjaro, and then of course coming back down, you went a different route coming back down.
Well, the scenery was amazing, and Chris will attest to this because he's what are you, a master gardener or something, Chris? I'm serious. He's got quite a bit of knowledge about this stuff.
I think his lawnmower's running in the background there too.
I've got my advanced master gardener through the Gibson County Purdue Extension and Purdue University.
So you're not kidding?
No.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, you start off in the jungle, and there's monkeys and just beautiful scenery everywhere. I mean, everywhere you look is a picturesque moment, and that's up to Series 1, and then Series 1 to Series 2. I think that's a plateau, and the vegetation starts getting a little more sparse, and then eventually the higher you get, eventually there's no vegetation at all. It's just rocks. It looks like you're walking on the moon.
Are you seeing any wildlife as you're out? Birds or anything like that?
Yeah, well, there was quite a few different birds. It wasn't like walking through the zoo or something, but we saw a lot of monkeys. We had some monkeys come in and steal some food from some of the guys that turned their back, for 2 seconds. They came down a tree and snatched it up. And
this would be at the lower altitude, though, right?
This was down in the jungle. Yeah, this was day 1 or at the end of the start of day 2. And so there was a little bit of that, lots of insects. But as you got higher, you didn't have any of that stuff. No birds. I mean, you look out. The beauty of this is, I think on day 3, and Chris, you can correct me if I'm wrong, day 3, we were so high that the clouds were below us. And so when you looked out off of the mountain, it was like looking at an ocean, but it was all clouds. And you could just see another mountain peak kind of peeking up through that sheet of clouds. It was amazing, because you don't ever really see anything like that unless you're in an airplane or something.
Yeah. So these pictures that I'm cycling through right now, is this at the beginning of the hike, or is this at the end?
That's the hotel or the lodge we were staying at.
Before the hike or after?
Yeah, before. Well,
yeah, this is before.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, this is on the way. I think this is day 1 on the way up to Londerosi Gate. We had stopped for a bathroom. Say again?
Is this one of your guides here?
That is Rachel. She also fell out on day 3. She couldn't deal with the cold, with the weather aspect of it. And she had something to do, I think, with the safari that we went on after.
Yeah. Gotcha. She works for the safari company that we also tagged on to. So she knows the people that run the Yangi Adventures for right there for Kilimanjaro. Mm-hmm. And he also runs, I think his name is Praise. He also runs the safari. So when we did the climb, after the climb, we did the safari, and they were kind of all interlinked in there.
Okay. And what did the safari entail?
Well, we had two different.
It was a whole bunch of animals, man. You've seen basically the top 5 that they have there. What is it? Lion, giraffe, rhino, or not rhino, hippo. Anyway, I know there's a big 5. We've seen pretty much almost all of them.
Elephants.
Yeah.
giraffes?
Yeah, we went on the first safari was kind of a what is it like a well, there was a lot of jeeps. It was kind of a commercial type of a safari. I mean, there was
kind of like did a caravan through it.
Yeah, there was a bunch.
Well,
of different...
the difference was one was a national park on the first day, and then on the second day we were in a preserve. And the difference is the national park, they allow tribal people to actually continue to live within the park and with the animals. But in the preserve that we went into up by the Serengeti, no humans are allowed to live within that territory, right? So
no hunting and that kind of stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. No, nothing is allowed except for just sightseeing, basically. And to Chris's point, yes, it was a lot of animals. I think we saw everything that Africa had to offer except for the rhino and cheetah. But everything else, from lions and elephant herds, hippos,
giraffes,
gazelles, zebra, giraffe. I mean, you name it. It was pretty impressive.
Did y'all get pictures of all that?
Yeah, we got pictures of all of that as well.
Okay, nice.
I don't think we've posted it yet, though.
Need to post those. Come on now. You're slacking.
Well, that right there in that picture, Marty, the guy in the yellow cap sitting next to me, that's Jeremy Locke. He was our photographer. He's a 7-time military photographer of the year, the only person to attain that goal 7 different times. I think the closest person ever to have it was 3. They got it 3 times. He photographed. He just released his safari photos to us on a Dropbox, and they're phenomenal.
Oh, I can imagine. Yeah.
And he hasn't released. He hasn't edited and gone through all. I think he said he took 20,000 pictures of the climb.
Wow.
So
talk about this. The food. What did you guys, eat? This is probably something at base camp here. I don't guess you set this up every night during the hike up the mountain. So talk about your food situation.
They did set it up every night.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah, that's the mess.
One of the things that I think helped us was the ginger tea. Man, that ginger tea, I think it helped revitalize our body and get us up to par. And those of us that might have had issues, I think that ginger tea helped. Stomach problems and things like that. Like, unfortunately, I don't know. Every time I go out of country, I forget and I drink out of the tap water. I don't know if my body's adapted or what, or if it was the ginger tea. But so far, so good.
So you're not supposed to drink the water there?
Yeah, you don't want to drink the water. A lot of parasites in the water.
Gotcha.
Yeah, they would set that up. The porters were amazing. They would take this tent, all your tents, sleep mats, all the cooking stuff. I mean, they would even on the route. I think about every day at some point they would have soup for you. In those cups there you see in front of us, those metal cups. Mm-hmm. They would have somebody that had some soup, and they would pour everybody some soup. And so there's lots of soups, lots of porridge, oatmeal. Lots of complex carbs, some protein, and they fed us and fruits. They fed us pretty good. We always had coffee, hot chocolate, or ginger tea that was hot, and then they cleaned and boiled all our water every night so that we could fill up our water bottles.
So were y'all getting like 3 meals a day at least?
No, like 2.
You get 2.
2.
So
2 meals a day.
You
and
hit
lots
breakfast
of snacks.
and dinner when you get your nighttime point.
What
were they giving you for breakfast?
Breakfast, we'd get porridge, some sort of porridge.
What the hell is porridge? Oatmeal. What is porridge? Is that oatmeal?
I'm not real sure.
It's like an oatmeal kind of, basically you're probably a bunch of ground up grains.
Yeah.
Almost like a malto meal.
Basically, like malto meal or cream of wheat, but it was kind of had an apple sauce kind of taste to it, or apple spice.
The consistency of more like oatmeal kind of thing.
Yeah.
Well, there's always Oh, I'm sorry, Brandon.
Go ahead.
Well, I was going to tell him there's always like the chef. He called himself, what was it, an appetite engineer.
Yeah, he's a stomach engineer.
A stomach engineer. So basically, everything that they used, it had a purpose. Of course, if you look into like different herb books and things like that, cinnamon, deals with anti-inflammatory properties, and so does ginger and things like this. So it's all really it's thought of. It's not like they were just giving us random food. A lot of times, you could tell what they were giving us by what kind of day it was going to be. If it was going to be a heavy day where we're going to be walking for a long time, you could tell they were definitely trying to pack in the protein and carbs and energy into us. They're like, no, you need to eat this or you need to drink this. They knew what was going on. They've got it down to a science.
What kind of protein?
They were giving us eggs, boiled eggs, different things like that, meats, chicken, a lot of chicken that they had. But I'll say one of the things they pushed was the eggs. And I think that's one of the things that also helped me because I'm good on extracting protein from eggs, They always do real good for me. Some of the other guys, eggs don't really do too well for them, and I know that because I walk behind them.
Yeah, or you're in a tent with them.
That brings up another thing that people probably don't think about, and something that I had read when I was doing a little research on this, is that, you were saying don't drink the water, and that the water has become contaminated by all the people not properly discarding their waste, their human waste, and it's gotten into the water systems there, and I guess made it undrinkable.
Yeah, for some reason, if it ain't somebody's backyard, they don't tend to respect it like they would their own.
Yeah. So how did y'all handle your waste?
We had portable potties.
Portable potty along the way, they had them?
Yeah, they carried these portable chemical toilets.
Okay.
And they would set up a little closet-like tent, a little rectangular tent that was about the size of a closet, and it would have that little chemical toilet in there.
Yeah.
And that's what we would use at base camps.
And they would pack those up each time and bring them with them, or they just leave them there?
No, they brought them. They brought everything we had at camp. Hugged up the mountain.
Anytime we went up a camp, whenever we got to a camp, there was usually like a facilities there, like basically a concrete floor with a hole in it. Uh-huh. And they would pour all the waste in there. So they're trying to get it on the mountain to where it's all consolidated, and they're trying to get it to where it's basically clean, and they're cleaning up the mountain. They have crews that go through there that actually do little like 6-man crews where they actually walk up the trails up the mountain cleaning up trash the whole way. So right. The National Park of Kilimanjaro has really gotten it nailed down when it comes to trying to fix some of the problems that they've had in the past.
Gotcha. So we talked about the diet. Was there one thing in particular maybe that they served you or that you had to eat? Maybe not during the hike, but just while you were there in Africa that really stood out? You're like,
it was the chicken-like substance they were giving us. Chris said it was chicken. I'm not sure it was chicken.
I don't know, man. We were up there for 6 days, and they said it was chicken. And I swear to God, there were some crows that looked about the size of this chicken.
Yeah,
exactly.
I know when I was in Jamaica, I thought I was eating chicken for like 2 days, and then they turned out and they told me it was goat's tail, and I was like, oh, okay, well, it's tasty.
Yeah, I didn't care, but when they were giving me these little pieces of chicken, I was like, man, that doesn't look like chicken. It's some sort of wing, but yeah, they were very. I mean, the soups were. I was impressed. I mean, I was really impressed with the foods that they made available to us. I mean, they with the stuff they were working with, and to change it every day, and to they didn't feed us the same thing every single meal. They changed it every time, so it was pretty impressive.
Nice. Now here we're getting some background photo of the snow. Did you guys the temperature? How did the temperature vary? Because it didn't look like you guys had to get too wrapped up to make this hike. I would think that it would get pretty damn cold.
We lucked out on the weather.
Yeah.
Now I think that the time of year that we were going is one of two windows for Kilimanjaro. That's really the the best season
Mm-hmm.
to go, and we were in one of them. So we didn't have much rain. We had a little bit, but not much. So we didn't have to worry about covering up too much. You see some of those pictures, they've got waterproof covers on their rucksacks and stuff. It was
Mm-hmm.
really not that necessary.
Yeah.
The only
I'm just
time
seeing everybody in like shorts and short sleeves.
Yeah.
And, I was expecting like parkas and things like that as you got
Yeah,
higher. What's
you know,
the coldest it got?
We would start off in the morning and it would be chilly. And then, you'd start shedding, these infantry guys like me and Chris, we usually shed everything before we start walking anyway. I mean, that's just how we were trained.
Yeah.
You can always put something on, but you don't want to sweat in something that's there to keep you warm. And when you stop, you're wet and cold. So, as soon as the sun was out, they were really nice days. But there was some times down in the valleys where the wind would kick up and the temperature would drop pretty quick. Those clouds would roll in really fast.
So like 40s, or give me an idea what temperatures y'all were dealing with.
Oh, I would say it was in the 70s. What do you say, Chris?
The 70s? It was that warm?
Yeah, down when we were in the rainforest, it was around 70s to upper 70s. And then once we started moving up, I think we moved from the rainforest to, an alpine desert, or to a moorland. And then from the moorland to the alpine desert. From the alpine desert, we moved up into the Arctic. So, yeah. But, one of the things that's crazy is everybody, now they were trying to tell everybody, okay, you need to bundle up, you need to do this. But what some people fail to realize when it comes to people that are missing limbs is they actually get hotter than we do because their body's trying to generate enough heat for a full body, and they're missing legs or an arm and a leg and everything like that. So when you see Noah Galloway up there and he looks like he's in shorts and we're still kind of bundled, it's because he's hot. He's not cold because his body's overworking.
Sure.
And that's why they say, us walking 1 mile is like them walking 4.
I'd never heard that.
Yeah.
That's a great point. Now, what are you doing right here, Brandon?
Looks like I'm putting some sort of flavoring in my water bottle.
A little flavoring, or is that the stuff to counteract the
No,
the bad juju in there?
We brought iodine tablets, but we didn't need them because they boiled our water every night. So they had, I think we were sponsored by Liquid IV. Is that right, Chris?
Yes, Yes, we were. Sorry about that.
And so we had a few little packets of stuff we could put in our water bottles if we elected to. And that's what I'm doing there at that particular.
Gotcha.
And there's those clouds I was talking about.
Okay. So that's you're above the clouds there, man.
Yeah, we actually went above a whole nother layer. On top of that, we got even higher up to base camp. There was a whole secondary level of clouds.
Got up into the stratosphere, huh?
Yeah.
Now this is what, like 19,000 feet, something like that.
Well, the mountain's 19,341 feet.
Yeah,
the tallest point, and that's the Bronco Wall. Which from the Bronco camp, you could see those people that from other treks that were with other companies that were starting before us. When you looked at them from the camp, they looked like ants.
Yeah,
that thing is so tall and steep. And then they got the kissing rock there. I think that's what the guy with the gray coat on. That's our photographer,
right,
and he's waiting to get somebody. Yep. And you got to kind of shimmy past that rock. And that's why they call it the kissing rock.
You get so close to it, you got to kiss it, huh?
Yeah, that's right.
But see, that's what I'm talking about. See, there's snow up there, and for snow, I mean, it's got to be, in the 30s at least.
Yeah. Well, I think on the peak, they say it can be 20 degrees down to minus 20 at any time.
Yeah, and you guys didn't experience that, obviously.
It was pretty cold when we got up there. They made us wear all our hot weather gear starting out on that track, and I was sweat through my jacket. But it was cold, and once the sun came out, it warmed up quite a bit.
Yeah. So any interesting stories during the 8 days that you guys want to share?
Marty, we've talked a little bit about Travis, but I'll tell you now that I've seen a lot in my lifetime, but I've never witnessed the type of physical accomplishment that Travis Strong, was able to achieve. There's probably a handful of human beings on this planet that could have done what Travis did over a 3-day span. He walked on his hands, bounced on his butt cheeks for 3 days, total of more than 10 miles and an elevation increase of basically 5,000 feet. So think about that. 10 miles, 5,000 foot elevation increase over 3 days of walking on his hands, because the man has no prosthetics and no lower limb extremities, right? And I think, again, I don't want to speak too much for the group, but we all were tearful and or boo-hooing like I was on the third day when Travis had to leave the mountain, feeling for what he accomplished. And it was superhuman at every level. And the guides and the porters were constantly in awe. I mean, he was unwilling to accept help. He wanted to prove that he could do it himself. And again, if we had not chosen the route that we did, which we actually chose before he was part of the team, he could have gone a lot further. For someone in his situation, we chose the worst possible route. And I do want to share that we are going back. We're taking Travis back next year, and we're doing what they call the Coca-Cola route, which is a 3-day route that we're going to turn into a 6-day route to give him plenty of time to navigate and not wear himself out the way he did, and actually set him up for success to actually summit. So just acknowledging him, there was nothing that I witnessed that was more powerful on this trip than what Travis did, and can't say enough good things about his mental and physical fortitude to accomplish what he did. And I think Brandon and Chris will second that.
That's right.
Well, it's definitely amazing. Now, have they witnessed anybody in his condition before tackling this mountain? I mean, nobody with.
There's actually 2 people, and we found out again at the last minute that they both took the Coca-Cola route, which is the 3-day route, and they both turned it into a 6-day climb effort. The difference being, though, that both of them accepted quite a bit of the assistance. They were carried a good bit of the trip, and they did not do it on their own the way Travis did. So I think it was more about just getting 2 people that were kind of in his same situation. Both of them civilians. One of them was apparently born without legs, so they had gone their entire lives, adjusting to life without legs. Travis obviously lost his serving in the military and losing them to an IED. So again, we're not comparing apples to apples here. We're going to take someone that as a grown man had to adjust losing his limbs.
Yeah, completely different circumstances. Absolutely.
Yeah, and is going to try and do it without any assistance, basically just sheer will. So again, a very
hopefully
daunting
somebody
task.
will come up with some sort of a device for his lower extremities that will, assist, add some padding or something.
Yeah, it's one of the things that he identified before we made the trip, but unfortunately the university team that had committed to providing him with a lower extremity device, kind of like a pair of pants with a shoe or tire tread on the lower portion. They were supposed to have that ready for him in time for the trip, and they didn't. So he really was forced to just kind of come with what he had. And the other thing is that we're now going to get involved and help to ensure that he has a special pair of gloves developed to help him with his hands, and a special form of trousers with lower padding and some tread that will actually protect his lower portion of his body.
Yeah, I was gonna say, well, the good thing about this is, he got an opportunity to see, what it is that would make it easier or better for him to make this trek. So he's like, I've done it with nothing.
That's right.
Now, if I had this or something along these lines, then I could really knock this out. So research, man, research.
We all agreed to that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it was a trial, a test for him. And so I know I'm committed to going back and helping him fulfill his dream, and obviously my own. And, the fact that I had to stop, I've now got a greater drive than ever to go back and do it. But to give Travis the opportunity to challenge himself now after he's seen what it's going to physically take.
Yeah. I wish he could have joined us. Specimen. Yeah, I wish he could have joined us on this interview, and the other guys as well. So talk about the other 12 guys that were on here. So, are you looking at the picture I've got up? I guess this is the whole crew minus her.
I am.
Let's start on the left.
You've got, let me zoom in a little bit myself. Okay, so that's Jeremy. He's the 7-time military photographer of the year. He's an Air Force vet. Right next to him is Noah Galloway.
Dancing with the Stars.
And then, to his lower left is Travis down there at the bottom.
Mm-hmm.
Up behind Travis is George Chimel. George is famous for running across the United States from San Francisco to New York with the U.S. flag. So that's his claim to fame. And he's a physical specimen in his own right, as you can imagine, having the ability to run across the United States.
Uh-huh.
Then you've got a really odd character that came with us named Brandon Madison. Brandon obviously is an amazing man, and proud to have him. Again, an Army Ranger combat vet. Next to him is Michael Nimmo, a Marine Corps veteran combat vet. And then the other odd duck of the group, Chris Mackay. We're noticing a trend here of individuals that served in the Army being odd ducks. But Chris Mackay, Army combat vet, and our chapter commander up in Indiana for Sheepdog. You got next to Chris, you got Chris Jackson, retired Marine Corps Lieutenant Colonel, combat veteran. And he and I actually served together as junior Marines. We were Lance Corporals and Corporals together in the Marine Corps back in the early days when Jesus was a buck private. And then you got I'm standing next to Chris, so I'm next to him. And then in front of Chris is Sebastian Gallegos, obviously another combat veteran, amputee, lost his arm. And he's a Marine. And then up to that's next to me is Scott West, double amputee. Again, combat vet, Army soldier.
Farther.
And then, and again, Army. We're having issues here, but and then the last person there, that's actually Houston, and he's actually a civilian videographer that was hired by our sponsor to come with us and capture the trip on video and camera. So he spent most of his time just following the group, trying to capture to the best of his ability the entire event on video. And there has been some interest shown by a couple different TV groups that are considering doing kind of a mini reality TV series on this expedition.
Oh, nice.
And so we're excited that we don't want to jinx ourselves and say any names at this point, but we are hoping that we have an opportunity to share this story with a broader audience. And we're hoping Houston's efforts and capturing all of it on video will help with that. Plus with Jeremy Locke, the 7-time winner of Military Photographer of the Year.
Yeah. Like
Brandon has stressed, his pictures are phenomenal. Everything I've seen that he's shared with the group so far has been really powerful. And we're hoping that if people will continue to plug into our website and social media pages, they'll have an opportunity to see a lot of his photos in the days to come.
And these pictures that I'm pulling up, as you guys are watching this on YouTube, or if you're listening, you can go to Sheepdog's Facebook page. It's Sheepdog IA. Is it Sheepdog IA on Facebook?
Or I think it's basically Facebook.sheepdogia, and then our website is sheepdogia.org. And if you go to our website, you can click on our social media tabs, which will take right people. There. We also have on our website, we've got a photo album gallery and everything else. But typically through our Facebook page, you can see or capture the majority of our images. But without a doubt, an amazing trip for everyone. And, another kudos, I know we've all kind of mentioned it, but just really stressing that Young Adventures, the group in Africa that made it possible for us through the guides and porters, absolutely phenomenal group. They were professional at every level, and no matter the need, they stepped up to meet it from a challenge standpoint. And we just absolutely cannot rave enough about our guides and porters and how they were willing to literally sacrifice themselves in an effort to make sure that all of us were able to do our best in summiting the mountain. So absolutely big kudos to them. And we just couldn't be more proud of the effort made by everyone in the attempt, and especially those that were able to make it to the top.
Very cool. Very cool. So, guys, thank you so much for taking the time to be on and share your stories. Brandon, Chris, do you guys have any other stories you'd like to share of the trip or say anything about it?
I'd like to say one more thing about Travis. I mean, the Sergeant Major covered it quite well, but just watching him put in, trying to do the whole thing on his own, to be looking, at these inclines going up, and they're intimidating to anybody. I can't imagine being in his situation from his perspective, with the tools that he had to negotiate the trails. And also, it's so impressive because, somebody gets a blister on their foot and it ruins their day. Yeah. This guy was taping up his knuckles at the end of the day or the next day because his hands were so just beat up, from I think sometimes he was on his palms, sometimes he was on his knuckles, depending on how he was trying to maneuver. I know it took a toll on his lower, part of his body. His ass. Also. Yeah, on his ass. Yeah. But, I watched this guy, at the start of the second day when I was asking him, if there's anything I could do for him or whatever, just not accepting any help, not out of spite or anything like that, just because he was determined to do it on his own. And looking at his hands and him just taking tape and just taping over it and then setting out to walk another 5 miles on his hands. It was a testament to, the determination and the heart of this guy. And I'm just impressed as hell with this guy. And I just want to give him the proper acknowledgement that he deserves. It was amazing.
Chris?
Yeah, just to go with what he said. One of the reasons I made it is because we were surrounded by amazing individuals that give you that motivation, and if you're not going to do it for yourself, well, hell, do it for your brothers and sisters. It's one of the reasons we did it. Try to bring real, awareness to the 22 veterans and first responder or veterans that commit suicide each day. It's just trying to bring recognition to that and saying, hey, just because you climb that first mountain doesn't mean life is over for you. There's life after service.
And the message of, we can all do hard stuff. This has really resonated with my men's group. see in the back of his shirt, of Travis's shirt or Scott's shirt, saying whatever it takes, or what's your excuse? And I've got guys that I know that can't quit eating cupcakes, and they think they've got a problem, and they think they've got a struggle. And this guy is showing you, hey, look at what I can do. I can still do hard things, and this is what I'm up against. And I think it's an inspirational message for anybody in any walk of life.
And I think most of the things that you guys do are set out and designed to show that too. Is like, there's life beyond, like you say, your motto, get off the couch. And I really appreciate everything that Sheepdog IA does, Impact Assistant does for our military men and women, police, first responders. And you guys, it doesn't run on thanks. It doesn't run on appreciation. It runs on donations. And you listeners have the opportunity to get involved and donate, whether it's money, whether it's resources, or whether it's your own time. And you can go to their website, sheepdogia.org, and there's links there to where you can donate money. You can get in touch with them. If this is a calling that you see maybe in your life, you can get in touch with them and see how you can physically get involved with Sheepdog IA. And I know you guys have your big gala coming up, which I didn't get my invitation to, but haven't received that yet. Talk about that, Lance.
Well, I've got to be honest and say you probably haven't received an invitation because we've been slow in the planning process because of COVID.
Yeah,
and
really...
we've had to reschedule twice already. And now, of course, we're in this real shady span of where COVID is starting to impact communities in a big way again, just from a political, unfortunately, standpoint in these communities where community leaders are discouraging large events and gatherings, etc. So as of right now, we're moving forward with what we call this year just a celebration event. It's outdoors, whereas typically it's indoors. It's October 9th, which is a Saturday here in Northwest Arkansas. And obviously, Marty, you are always invited. I think that's another key factor is we quit sending invitations to people that are expected to be there annually. So you are called on the carpet.
Yes.
And expected to attend annually, whether you receive an invitation or not.
Absolutely.
But without a doubt, all lead heads out there and non-lead heads that hear about this event, we'd love to have you. There's going to be fireworks. Noah Galloway is actually one of our guest speakers, as is Sergio Trejo, another combat wounded vet. Is going to share his story and motivate people. We've got guest speakers or guest musicians, a couple different surprise guests that are going to come and perform for us. And just again, from an outdoor standpoint this year, it's just about celebrating and having a good time, more like a backyard barbecue than anything else.
Mm-hmm.
And
that's the best.
Tickets are relatively cheap, and we'd love to have you.
And you go to sdia.givesmart.com for tickets on that. And, of course, you can go to their website to get more information on the annual gala. Now, did you guys do it last year? Was it because of COVID? I know we kept trying and rescheduling. And did that ever work out?
No, this is the celebration that was
to be.
Multiple times over the past 18 months, and we just kept, unfortunately, being forced to push it out based on COVID limitations.
I know
where we were restricted.
Yeah, this is a big opportunity for you guys to raise some of your, big chunk of your funds here at this gala event. There's always some great silent auction items that are involved with that. Through the past couple of years, you guys have made that available online for people who can't attend. Are you planning on doing the same thing with that this year?
We are. Through that Give Smart link, you'll see all of the items that we have in the silent auction. posted, and you can actually bid remotely. So if you see something you want, bid on it, win it, and we'll ship it to you.
There you go. And I need to get you some things for that. Again, I just kind of fell behind on this too, and that's my fault. So we usually have the best auction items available. So
well, I was going to say, Marty, you have by far over the past few years with your key sponsors and relationships been our best when it comes to some of the prizes and things that you've been able to set us up with. So the lead heads out there know that Marty has always stepped up to the plate and overachieved when it comes to supporting our efforts.
And that's due to the Lead Head Brigade, and like you said, our sponsors. We have really good sponsors on this show. So Lead Heads, for us to be able to do this, you got to go and support our sponsors also, and they're willing to do more things like this. So definitely, we'll see what we can pull together here in the fourth quarter.
Love it. We appreciate you as always.
You guys. So yeah, Lead Heads, you get the opportunity again. SDIA.givesmart.com for the annual celebration. That's in Rogers, Arkansas, and it's just an absolute beautiful drive. I've driven it a couple of times. It's a beautiful part of Arkansas. It's not the flat ugly part. It's really beautiful up there. It's worth a trip. So if you're looking for a place to get out, stretch your legs, get out of this COVID BS, make the trip. It's well worth it. And on your website, I guess you have the list of the places where people can set up to stay. Is it still at the embassy there, or I can't remember where it was?
It is. Well, this year there's a couple different options. We're not doing the event at Embassy Suites this year, but if anyone reaches out to us via our website, we'll send links to a couple different partner hotels that they can choose from. And certainly we would love to have anyone and everyone that would like to attend.
And what's your next big adventure you got coming up?
Well, nothing quite equals Kilimanjaro, but over the next 4 weeks, we've got 3 different outdoor adventures. One is rock crawling and skydiving. Another is a big fishing trip down in New Orleans, and some swamp boat riding and World War II museum visit. Then a week after that is razor riding and mountain biking. And then after that's the gala or the celebration gala. And then we're back at a Warrior Path program. And then again, October, November, full of additional outdoor adventures. So we're in one of our busier times of the year, and we're excited about all the events that we're going to have going.
We need to get another hog hunt scheduled. I got a new thermal that I need to try out here. I need to stop sharing my screen here so you can see.
And we got
a new thermal.
We've got a hog hunt the end of October, so we need to get you plugged back in again.
Yeah, we need to go try this out. It's from AccuFire, and I took it out the other day just to test it out. And for a sub 3,000 thermal, this thing, you would think it would be a $10,000 thermal. It's really nice. Got some great features. Very nice. Clear. And then I got one of their scopes also that you can co-witness with this. So if you've got like a 1:8 or 1:6, you can co-witness it with that and get the benefits too. So I definitely, yes, Texas is the place to try that out. Lots of leg room to stretch it out.
I like it.
Hells yeah. The hog hunts are always a fun time. So
absolutely.
Again, guys, thank you so much for taking the time. I really appreciate everything that you guys are doing for our veteran community. And you guys, Leadheads, again, I can't stress it enough. It doesn't run on thanks, doesn't run on appreciation. It takes money. Go donate. Sergeant Major, thank you so much. Chris, thank you so much. Brandon, love to have you guys on again whenever you've got your next adventure. Let's have you guys on, and let's get some of the people that take part in it, Lance, and let's make this kind of like a thing. After you do one, let's get on here and let's talk about it and push and promote it and show everybody all the good that it does, and how much it really uplifts these individuals, men and women.
Absolutely. Well, we always appreciate the opportunity, Marty, and we'll look forward to being back on again.
Absolutely. Lead heads, again, our sponsors, Mission First Tactical. Get 20% off. Use the code LEADHEAD. You go to Seal One, get any of their cleaning products, the CLPs. It's great for not just your guns, but anything that you need to clean or keep the corrosion off of. Seal1.com. Use the code LEADHEAD. You're going to get 25% off. Their aerosols, their liquids, their paste, their pre-soaked bore patches. They got you covered there. Nemo Arms. That's somebody I need to see if we can't get a donation for the auction, is Nemo Arms. They make some of the most pristine AR-15s, AR-10s that you guys have ever seen, and they've got heirloom quality shotguns at Nemo Arms. Lance, I have to introduce you to them. Use the code TL10, and you're going to get 10% off anything at their website, and that includes their firearms, which is unheard of in this day and time. And then, of course, Kel-Tec. We're going to be there for the NRA. Houston, Texas, September the 3rd through the 5th. Brandon, if you want to hop, skip, jump over to Houston, come by our booth, 1803. We're going to have the lead quarters set up. We're going to be doing much of what we're doing right here. Say again. Somebody said something. That was weird.
Steve Court.
Who is somebody else on with us?
Chris, are you talking to us?
Chris is muted. That's weird. Did you hear it too?
I did. That wasn't weird. As a ghost voice.
That's crazy. I think somebody's hacked into our unhackable Skype.
China. Gotta be China.
It's China. Yeah, it must be China. They want to get on the Talking Lead podcast because this is where it's happening. But we're going to be there, so come by and visit us, Leadheads. We're going to have great giveaways from our sponsors, Factory 47, 1776 United. Go show them all love. Use the discount codes, and that's how we keep the show coming to you each and every week. And as always, Leadheads, until then, keep your loved ones close.
And your firearms closer.
And get off the couch.